very good morning to everyone here. My name is Rolando Gomez. I serve as a spokesperson for the Human Rights Council. I work in the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights in Geneva. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Ambassador Coly Seck, who is serving as the President of the Human Rights Council, the 13th President since the Council was started working in 2006, in fact. Ambassador Seck is from Senegal. He's just come from the General Assembly where he briefed members about the activities of the Council throughout the year since he took over in the 1st of January. This is the tail end of a week-long visit where Ambassador Seck met with several senior officials in the UN here in New York, as well as diplomats and members of civil society. There's still a meeting that's pending for this afternoon. The third committee is Ambassador Seck will deliver a similar speech to the third committee this afternoon at 3 o'clock. I understand we do have interpretation in English and French, so we're very grateful for that. Ambassador Seck will address you in both languages, both English and French. Without further ado, maybe I'll turn over to Ambassador Seck for some brief opening remarks, and then to you for your questions, and if you would be so kind as to introduce yourself when you do pose those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rolando. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. I'm Ambassador Coly Seck. I'm the representative of Senegal to the United Nations office in Geneva and President of the Human Rights Council. This is my second visit to New York. The first one was in April 2019 when I came to meet some UN official. This is my second visit. I hope it's okay now. And I have met with various United Nations officials, the Secretary General, the PGA, the Controller, and today we made our report to the General Assembly, and the main message I was delivering since the beginning of my mandate was that we need to strengthen cooperation between New York and Geneva. We need to have more cooperation, more dialogue in Geneva in order to address the critical human rights situation the world is facing. We are trying to do our best in Geneva in order to tackle all human rights violations around the world with country-specific resolutions. This year we had new country resolution, Nicaragua, Philippines, Venezuela. We still dealing with Syria, Yemen, and many thematic questions, right to development, discrimination against women and girls in sport, equal pay, social security, the impact of digital technology, so a broad range of issues that we are dealing with. But the critical message is that state and civil society, alongside with the international community, must come together if you want to solve all these human rights violations in the ground. We had a retreat last week in Dakar, a convened retreat to discuss critical issues like climate change and human rights, mass migration and human rights, also growing inequalities, and the impact of human rights in the era of digital technology. So we hope that these critical issues will be again next year in the table of the Human Rights Council, and that the international community as well as New York and Geneva will deal together with those very important issues. Regarding now some issues like Venezuela, we are waiting this month to appoint the members of the fact-finding mission. I hope that we will get some name. We are in the process of finding highly qualified individuals that can deal with that mandate. I hope that before the end of November, we'll be able to appoint members of the fact-finding mission on Venezuela. The Human Rights Council also has a very important mechanism, the Universal Periodic Review, that helps listen to all members and try to find out how we can help by recommendations, improve human rights situation on the ground. So we need the support of Geneva also in order to have a better link between the three pillars of the United Nations: peace and security and development and human rights. That's why during my trip here on April, I met with, for instance, members of the Security Council in a very informal breakfast to see how we should cooperate together because many of our recommendations addressed to the GA should also go sometime to the Security Council, because we need someone here in Geneva, a main body to echo what we are doing in Geneva. That's why it is important to deepen and strengthen this cooperation between the Security Council and the Human Rights Council, as well as the Peacebuilding Commission. But unfortunately for the Peacebuilding Commission, we have been trying to meet them since a couple of years now, but they are still, I don't know if they refuse, but we are still trying, but no meeting with Peacebuilding Commission. We hope in the coming years it will be possible for the Human Rights Council to meet the Peacebuilding Commission and try to find out how we can cooperate more in prevention role of the Human Rights Council, because we are doing a lot of prevention by the Universal Periodic Review. The UPR is not there is a prevention mechanism, because we are trying to find out how we can help members to deal with critical human rights situation in various parts of the world. Finally, the SDGs, we are trying to find out how we can link more implementation of the 2030 agenda and the human rights. And hopefully we'll have another seminar before the end of the year on the implementation of the 2030 agenda. And we will do our best in order to make sure that economic and social rights have a real place in the Human Rights Council, as well as civil and political rights. This was my last word, and we would like to thank you very much, and I'm ready to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Seck. To you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for doing this briefing on behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association. Welcome, and thank you again. My name is Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. You've gotten a lot of pushback from countries that have been the targets, especially of independent fact-finding inquiries, and also from some periodic reviews. What can the Human Rights Council actually do to try and ensure that its recommendations are actually implemented? Because one of the biggest criticisms that we hear about all human rights issues is, and we were listening to it this week regarding sexual abuse and conflict, is the total impunity for perpetrators and violations.
We do not want impunity. Of course, everybody should be responsible for violations in the world, and there is no question is taboo in the Human Rights Council. We are dealing with all countries, all situations, and but as I said, we have our own limits. We can send fact-finding mission, commission of inquiry. We can produce many reports, calling members to respect human rights, and sending also a report to the General Assembly, asking for the General Assembly to send those reports to the Security Council. But as I said, we need to work as one United Nations. We are doing our part of the job, but we need also the support of New York, mainly the GA and the Security Council, if we want to make real differences on the ground.
Please, second row. Thank you.
Joseph Klein of Canada Free Press. You mentioned in your remarks that the fact-finding commission on Venezuela is still being put together. Venezuela has been elected to the Human Rights Council and will be joining in January. And it has not been cooperating, and has said it will not cooperate with this fact-finding mission. So as president of the Human Rights Council, what practical steps do you think the council could take, particularly with Venezuela now going to be a member of the Human Rights Council, to pressure, induce, persuade, whatever verb you want to use, Venezuela to cooperate? Because it seems an anomaly that it's going to be a member of the council, and yet it's says it's going to defy the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can say that there is 193 members of the United Nations, and as of this year, 117 members of the United Nations have been serving in the Human Rights Council. So this shows that it's becoming a universal body, and we had 2 resolutions on Venezuela this year, one under item 2, the second one under item 4. They have been told, they said they will cooperate with the Office of the High Commissioner for the first mandate, and we hope that they will cooperate also with the fact-finding mission in order to make sure that perpetrators of violation will be brought to justice. And the fact that Venezuela is a member of the Human Rights Council doesn't mean that they can block the council, or the council will keep working on Venezuela. And we hope that before next year, the fact-finding mission will present a report that will be presented during the 45th session, I think in September next year. And we are waiting, but we still have other cases of non-cooperation in the Human Rights Council, Myanmar, Burundi, many cases. But on Venezuela, we hope that they will cooperate.
If I just may add, as a footnote, the High Commissioner also, the 2 mandates, the High Commissioner will also present an oral update before the end of this year, as she will in March, and then the fact-finding mission will report back in a comprehensive written report in September next year.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Alejandro Rincon with NTN24 Latin America. It's also a quick follow-up on Venezuela. How do you see and how do you receive the fact that there's already underway an idea or an initiative to block or try to kick out Venezuela from the Human Rights Council? There's already some groups that are even receiving support by other member states, Grupo de Lima, and they want to try to harness support among the international community and even try to put this towards the General Assembly for a future vote to try to remove Venezuela. Do you have any comments, any reaction on this strategy that's already underway?
Yeah, for me, I will tell you, for me, all members are welcome to serve in the Human Rights Council, because when you are in, you accept that you will discuss your own situation and try to find out how best the international community can help you to improve the situation on the ground. Now, Venezuela has been elected by the General Assembly, and if the GA decide to remove it, we don't know what we can do. But my feeling is that that's a good thing to have them inside, so we can monitor best what they are doing on the ground, and they can also tell how the Human Rights Council can help them in terms of technical assistance, cooperation, the High Commissioner for Human Rights. So I think that we could have better results in the coming months.
Thank you. Please, sir.
Thank you. George Baumgarten, correspondent for Jewish newspapers in North America and other media as far afield as Kazakhstan. There have been allegations made, Mr. President, and this way predates your presidency. This is certainly not unique to the last 6 or 8 months that you've been there, that the Council has a certain involvement or even obsession with the State of Israel and has passed or has tabled and passed ever so many resolutions, vastly greater number of resolutions criticizing or condemning Israel more so than any other country, in some cases more so than all other countries put together. How do you view that? What do you think can be done about that? And in particular, the analogy that I have is several years ago, there was a similar situation in UNESCO where they were passing similar resolutions, and the then Director General, Madame Bokova, from Bulgaria, at one point said, these resolutions are getting ridiculous, or something to that effect. And it did have some small effect on UNESCO at that time. What do you think can be done about this? How do you view it, Mr. President? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think that we should make sure that the discussions in the Human Rights Council are depoliticized, so we can deal with real human rights issues. And obviously, no one can deny that there is human rights concern in the occupied Palestinian territory. But the Human Rights Council is an intergovernmental body. Resolutions are put on the table by members. And for me, what is important is not the item, the agenda 2 or 7, 10. What is important is to solve really human rights violation on the ground. The agenda is not important for me, but as soon as members want to put them on the table, perhaps if you want to change the dynamic, we should have real discussion in the Human Rights Council. We are leading towards a review of the status of the Human Rights Council in 2021. Perhaps that's an occasion for members to discuss the council, all the rules and procedures, and try to improve it. But what is sure is that we should depoliticize the council, do more cooperation, and try to identify real problems on the ground and solve them instead of insisting on the agenda 7, 2, or 10.
Thank you. Maybe George, since you mentioned Kazakhstan, if I heard you correctly, I should note, George, here. I should mention that Kazakhstan is among the 14 states to be reviewed during the Universal Periodic Review next week, by the way, on 7 November. Please go ahead, and then over to you.
Thank you. My name is Abdul Hamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi. The Foreign Minister of South Africa, in her speech last Monday, she suggested that the Security Council should take that bold step and go visit Gaza and the occupied Palestinian territories. Gaza has been under siege for the last 11 years, the largest human prison in the world, and in history even. And she said, with those who agree to go, it doesn't have to be every member of the Security Council. Do you agree with her call? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that Human Rights Council and Security Council should work together. That's what I have been saying. And we cannot do all prevention, human rights prevention in the world. We are a subsidiary body of the GA. But obviously, if the Security Council can help on the ground, not only in Gaza, but everywhere where we have human rights violations, that will be a good thing.
Thank you. Evelyn, please.
Evelyn Leopold. Like Venezuela, Brazil has also been elected to the Security Council, and I wonder how one copes since it jumps up and down at any criticism, and its president has gone so far as to say he's very glad Pinochet locked up the High Commissioner, Madame Bachelet. So I just wonder how you deal with this out-of-sync country.
Thank you very much. That's the same answer I gave. GA members are electing our members in the Human Rights Council, and they have decided by becoming member to uphold the highest standard in human rights. And as I said, my preference is to have all countries in the Human Rights Council, so we can monitor the situation, we can discuss with them, they can get cooperation, see good practices elsewhere in the world. So for me, we should be prepared to receive all countries and try to help them improve their human rights situations.
Thank you. I think there's quite a lot of hands up. I'll take the gentleman there, then just next, and then Betul afterwards.
Hi, thanks, Mr. President. Ben Ivansky with Fox News. We've been led to understand that the Office of the High Commissioner is continually giving names of human rights activists coming to Geneva from China. As you know, I think in 2013, one activist ended up getting killed for having her name being told. What's your reaction to this? And secondly, where do you stand on whistleblowers? Because a whistleblower in this particular case has reportedly suffered retribution, harassment, etc. Where do you stand on this, and what's your position on giving names to China?
I think that intimidation, reprisals against human rights defenders, activists are totally unacceptable, and we are trying every time that we have sign of or alert of intimidation to deal directly with members concerned. We call the permanent representative in Geneva, trying to see what happened. Usually we get results, but unfortunately it's still ongoing. We need to do more, both in New York and Geneva. The Assistant Secretary General also is dealing with reprisals. But that's very sad, but we have to stand up and refuse all kind of reprisal in the Human Rights Council and elsewhere, notably those who want to cooperate with the Human Rights Council.
Are you saying this practice of giving names to China is ongoing by the Office of the...
No, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that we have to keep being vigilant. We need to work on all cases of reprisals, but that's difficult cases sometimes, and we are having some results, but sometimes it's difficult to prove the intimidation, the violation, and the office is still working on all cases, and also Rolando can give you an additional answer on that.
And your position on whistleblowers?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, I will come back to you.
Let me just clarify very clearly. I hope to put this this distortion, I would say, to rest. Under no circumstances, the Office of the High Commissioner divulged names of human rights offenders coming to the Council. This is not a practice. We are very vigilant, like the President just announced. We echo that very firm stance. Civil society, the voice of civil society, they really complete the work of the Council. They're vital actors in the Council. We do our utmost to preserve their security. Any threats against them we take very seriously, and we would never, ever dream of actually divulging names. So we can perhaps talk more about this afterwards, but this is something that needs to be put to rest once and for all.
Yeah. We should protect them and refuse all kind of intimidation. That's what we are doing.
I think the gentleman there, and then Betula, then in the back, yes.
This is kind of a related question. Human Rights Watch in 2017 reported that there were threats and harassment of UN staff involved in human rights evaluations by Chinese officials. And I'm wondering if, to your knowledge, that's ongoing, and if you could talk a little bit about the work that the Human Rights Council has done involving China this year. In particular, in lots of media reports, people are citing an expert who testified to the Human Rights Council saying there's 1 million Uyghurs arbitrarily detained there. If you could explain how that expert came to that conclusion, that would be great. Thank you.
I don't think this year I received a case concerning reprisals against China. On my table, I don't think I have this year a case concerning China. And on Uyghur, I think that the Council has many times in many countries raised the issue in the Human Rights Council. There is no taboo question in the Human Rights Council, and there is no resolution, of course, but if members want to table a resolution on any situation, they can do it and make sure it will pass by consensus or by a vote. But
And just so we have a clearer understanding, I've tried to contact this expert. Where does she get that number? 1 million Uyghurs are arbitrarily detained. Do you know?
Really, I don't know. Perhaps Rolando.
I think We would have to consult with her directly. Okay, thanks. Betul, please.
Thank you, Rolando. Good to see you here. Mr. President, I have two questions. You also mentioned climate change in your remarks, and I was wondering if you see the lack of inaction on the climate change as a human rights violation. And my second question will be on the killing of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. We had one of the UN rapporteurs here, Agnes Kalamard, last week, and she told us that she was disappointed with the United Nations and with the Secretary General, and the Secretary General didn't take a stand. And she's been calling for a panel of experts. I'm wondering what your response would be to that, and also if you could tell us whether the Human Rights Council could establish a panel of experts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On Khashoggi and the report of Mrs. Kalamar, we heard Mrs. Kalamar report of Mrs. Kalamar last June, I think, and she made a lot of recommendation toward GA, I think, toward the Security Council. And that's what I was saying. We need more cooperation between New York and Geneva. This is one United Nation. If you want to have results, we should cooperate between Geneva and New York, get support from main bodies like the Security Council. The Human Rights Council has done his part of the job by having a special rapporteur, producing a very detailed report. Now I think that is up to the General UN to take action on this case and on many other cases that are not solved now yet. Regarding the first question on climate change, of course, we are trying in the Human Rights Council to raise awareness on this issue and the link between climate change and mass migration, many human rights violations due to climate change. That's a new or emerging issue. We don't have agreement yet. We are still discussing. It is a difficult issue, but we hope that nobody can deny the obvious now, and in the coming months and years, climate change will have a good place in the Human Rights Council.
Thank you. I think we're running out of time. We have to give space to Farhan. So this may be the last question just behind Betul. Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dulcie from Pass Blue. Just wanted to know how the Council has been affected by the withdrawal of the United States in the last year and a half. How has it affected your work? And also, I understand that they withdrew $8 million in funding to the Council. So how has that affected the budget of the Council? Thanks very much.
Thank you. It is always sad when one country leaves the Council. We want everybody on board. That's what I was saying. We need everybody to come and help the Council because we are having different views, different ideas, and we should cooperate more. We hope that U.S. will join again the Human Rights Council. It is a very important stakeholder, and we hope they will come back to the Council and help international community deal with those very serious issues on the table of the Human Rights Council. As far as the funding is concerned, I don't have any information, but perhaps Rolando could give us.
We have to get back on that one. Yeah, I don't have information either. Yeah, on the funding issue, obviously, the Council, just to clarify, the Council itself does not have its own budget. It relies on the funds from the regular budget, extra budget to fund its meetings in Geneva. But of course, there's a price to be paid to implement human rights. Of course, more dramatic prices, but money is desperately needed. The fact that the third pillar of the UN is grossly underfunded is actually quite upsetting as well. But perhaps we can talk more about some details afterwards. I think maybe just one last question, if Farhan would permit me. This gentleman here had his hand up on the right, please.
My name is Tetsuro Jinora, and I'm a reporter from Zimbabwe and a Dag Hammarskjöld fellow. There's been an increase in human rights abuses in Zimbabwe that include abductions, beatings, and human rights. Civil society leaders are being targeted by alleged state agents. And I just wanted to get a reaction from you about that. And a lot of human rights organizations, both local and domestic and foreign, have been reporting of such an increase. Even the recent visit by the UN Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Assembly and Association Clement Voller, who was in Zimbabwe in September, also agreed that there's a rapid decline of the human rights situation in Zimbabwe. I just wanted to get a reaction from you on that.
Thank you. That's what we are doing in the Human Rights Council. We're trying to make sure that all human rights of all human beings are being respected everywhere in the world. Sadly, we have some human rights violations around the world, and we are trying to deal with them with our special rapporteur, with our expert commission of inquiry, fact-finding mission, and of course, as I said, there is no question that is taboo in the Human Rights Council. Perhaps in our coming session, we will have this situation on our table, and obviously we will do our best to make sure that those violations will stop. Like we need to stop them everywhere in the world where we have violations.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much
for
for joining. Thank you.